If there's one thing Archie Bunker trusts more than his own instincts, it's the idea that the world should make sense in a way that benefits him. Not sense as in logic. Archie isn't exactly a walking textbook. More like a cosmic fairness system where the loudest man in the room gets the final word, the biggest slice of the pie, and the right to decide when everyone else should stop talking. And in this run of stories, that belief gets tested from three directions at once. First, by a friendly neighborhood send-off that turns his living room into a battlefield of pride. Then by a suspicious stream of money that makes him feel like he's been chosen by destiny. And finally, by a bureaucratic mistake so absurd it shakes his whole identity. Because apparently you can be alive in your chair and still be dead in someone's file cabinet. It begins with the kind of request that sounds harmless until it lands in the bunker house like a match tossed into a room full of gasoline. Louise Jefferson shows up with the face of a woman trying to do something decent while dragging a reluctant world behind her. There's a goodbye party to plan. Something warm, neighborly, respectful. Uncle Henry is leaving town. And in Louise's mind, you don't just let a person disappear without some kind of send-off. You gather people, you share food, you offer congratulations and good wishes. That's the point of community. You mark the moments that matter. But the party isn't just a party. It's a test of the Jefferson household, too. George doesn't want to host it. He's dug his heels in for reasons that Louise is tired of defending. And she's embarrassed that something meant to be kind has become political inside her own home. Louise doesn't want a statement. She wants a gathering. And because Louise knows Edith Bunker is the kind of woman who can't stand seeing someone stuck, she comes to the one person she believes will say yes before she even finishes the sentence. Edith does exactly that. She offers the bunker living room without hesitation, without consulting Archie, without realizing she just pulled the pin out of a grenade and handed it to her husband as a surprise gift. Archie hears the plan, and his entire body language changes. His eyes narrow, his voice tightens, and his pride wakes up like a guard dog. It isn't that Archie can't physically handle a party. It's that he can't handle the idea that the party is happening on terms he didn't set. He can tolerate guests when they're his guests. He can tolerate socializing when he's the one giving permission. But a party involving the Jeffersons in his house, arranged by Edith like it's nothing, to Archie, that feels like losing ownership of his own front door. The argument that follows is classic bunker logic. Archie frames his outrage as principle, as if he's defending a constitution instead of defending his ego. Gloria pushes back, and Mike, because he can never resist a chance to turn a domestic dispute into a lecture about society, starts talking about what it means to live among people instead of hiding from them. Archie doesn't want philosophy. He wants control. He demands Edith undo the invitation. But the trap is obvious. Edith is gentle, but she's not cruel, and she doesn't want to call Louise and embarrass her. Gloria and Mike see it instantly. They push Archie toward a corner he hates. If Archie wants the party canceled, Archie should be the one to look Louise Jefferson in the eye and say it. Archie does what he always does when he's losing. He tries to escape without admitting defeat. He declares he won't be home. He stomps, sulks, threatens to disappear, as if his absence will cancel the entire event. But the more he threatens, the more it becomes clear he's not a man standing on moral ground. He's a man running from discomfort. And Archie hates being seen running. So the party happens, and the tension in the living room doesn't come from decorations or food. It comes from two men who interpret politeness as surrender. Archie and George Jefferson are both proud, both sharp, both convinced the other one is constantly looking for an advantage. They circle each other with jokes and jabs that sound like humor but land like warnings. Louise tries to keep the mood friendly. Edith tries to serve and smile and make everyone feel welcomed, even when the air feels heavy. Lionel floats in that awkward middle space, where he knows exactly how ridiculous the adults can be, but still has to live with the consequences of their moods. The funniest part is that the party itself, when it functions as an actual party, does something Archie never expects. It forces him to behave. When people are standing in your living room with plates in their hands, it's harder to turn into a full-time tornado. Archie still tries, of course, with comments designed to poke and provoke, but he's also aware of the audience. Archie always has a relationship with the room. He doesn't just argue with people. He performs for whoever is watching. And in a room full of neighbors, he can't fully unleash without risking the one thing he hates more than compromise: looking foolish. Just as the household survives that social minefield, the next temptation arrives in the most ridiculous form possible: quarters in the mail. It starts with Edith doing something innocent. She sends away a coupon to a prune company, the kind of tiny offer you barely remember after you mail it. She expects a single quarterback or some small promotional token. One little "thanks for writing" coin. But then another quarter arrives. Then another. Then another. The quarters keep coming like a slow, steady drip from the universe. And the longer it goes on, the more it stops feeling like a mistake and starts feeling like a message. Edith's reaction is exactly what you'd expect: worry and conscience. She doesn't get excited. She gets uncomfortable. Because Edith lives with the assumption that if something doesn't belong to you, you don't treat it like a gift. Archie's reaction is the opposite. He lights up. He doesn't see a mistake. He sees opportunity. He doesn't see a moral question. He sees a system that can be exploited. Archie starts stacking the quarters with a strange kind of reverence. Like each envelope is proof that luck still visits the deserving. And in Archie's mind, deserving means him. He starts doing math out loud. He imagines totals by the week, by the month, by the year. He turns a small pile of coins into a fantasy of steady income. It's classic Archie. He can turn pocket change into a life plan in under 5 minutes. Edith tries to pull him back, suggesting they should contact the company and explain the error. Archie argues that they didn't steal anything. If the quarters are arriving, they must be meant to arrive. If the company is foolish enough to keep sending money, that's not Archie's problem. In his mind, the moral burden belongs to the sender, not the receiver. Gloria and Mike react the way they usually do. They poke holes in Archie's logic, they mock the greed, and they try to remind Edith that being too soft invites chaos. But they can't stop the show's deeper joke. Archie isn't tempted by wealth. He's tempted by being right that the world owes him. The quarters aren't just money, they're validation. Archie wants them because they tell him the universe is rewarding him for being Archie Bunker. And then, right when the house is already vibrating with absurdity, the third storyline arrives like a hammer. Archie is declared dead. Not dead in a dramatic sense. Not dead in a mysterious sense. Dead in the most insulting way possible. Dead on paper. A mistake in a record somewhere flips a digit or files the wrong name. And suddenly, in the world of official forms, Archie Bunker is no longer a living man. He is a statistic, a file, a closed case. Archie finds out in the most humiliating way, through the consequences. The reactions, the sympathy, the way the system begins treating Edith as a widow and treating Archie as if he's invisible. Archie's first response is fury, not just because it's inconvenient, but because it attacks the core of how he sees himself. Archie thinks his existence should be undeniable. He is loud. He is present. He fills a room by force. And now a piece of paper is telling him he doesn't exist. It's a nightmare scenario for someone like Archie, because it suggests that identity is not what you feel in your chest. It's what someone typed in an office. The household flips into crisis mode. Phone calls, confusion, questions. Edith is upset and frightened, because she's the kind of person who hears official mistake and imagines a chain of consequences she can't control. Gloria and Mike treat it like proof that the system is broken. Mike especially, because he loves any moment where reality provides him with a lecture. Archie doesn't want lectures. He wants recognition. He wants to be recertified as alive. He wants an official statement that says, "Sorry, Mr. Bunker, we accidentally killed you on paper." And the further Archie pushes, the more he collides with the cold logic of bureaucracy. People don't react to him as a person. They react to him as an entry. Archie's anger becomes almost existential. It's not just fix the mistake. It's, how dare you reduce me to a mistake? What makes this stretch of story feel so satisfying is how all three threads point to the same pressure point. The party challenges Archie's control over his home. The quarters challenge his control over his morality. And the death certificate mistake challenges his control over his identity. Archie fights each one the same way, by arguing louder, by insisting he's right, by trying to bend reality through force of personality. But the humor is that reality doesn't bend. It just waits. The party happens whether Archie likes it. The quarters keep arriving whether Edith is comfortable or not. And the paperwork machine doesn't care that Archie is yelling. It only cares whether the right box is checked. Meanwhile, Edith holds the household together the only way she knows how, by trying to do the decent thing even when decency is inconvenient. Her yes to the party comes from kindness. Her fear about the quarters comes from conscience. Her panic about the paperwork comes from vulnerability. Edith isn't weak. She's consistently human. And that contrast is what makes Archie's behavior funnier and sadder at the same time. Archie behaves like a bulldozer because he's terrified of what happens when he isn't one. By the end, you're left with that classic all-in-the-family feeling. The room is still loud, the arguments still fly, the world still pushes against Archie's stubborn worldview, but the family is still there. They bicker because they're trapped together, but they're also trapped together because, in their own messy way, they belong together. Archie will never admit it, but he depends on Edith's steadiness more than his pride will allow. Edith will never say it harshly, but she knows Archie needs the world to stop shaking long enough for him to believe he's safe. And Gloria and Mike, irritating as they can be, keep forcing Archie to face the modern world one uncomfortable moment at a time.